You are listening to Ruthie's Table 4 in partnership with Moncler.
When I think of Richard E. Grant, of course I think of his brilliant films and him as a great actor. But what I really think of is Richard and his wife, Joan, in the early days of the River Cafe. They were married a year before the restaurant opened and lived right across the river. Coming in for lunch, always sitting at the same table, they were warm and lovely and absorbed in each other. I remember their daughter Olivia being born a few years later and then bringing her in as a baby when the restaurant was still small and starting up, just like her. We all grew up and off into our own lives. Now, over 30 years later, Richard and I share something else in common, the loss of the partner we loved. Someone asked me about my advice on grief, and I have no advice on grief because it's so personal, how you do it, I have a friend whose mother went to bed for 6 months and never got out because her son had died. She just took to her bed, and I never stopped. So we all have different ways. And I was thinking, but if we start with the food, do you eat for comfort or did you stop eating when you had tragedy in your life?
I ate for comfort. And once Joan was diagnosed, and the subsequent 8 months that she had left, which we didn't know were going to be so short, I cooked 3 times a day.
Did you?
I'm so struck when anybody subsequent to her death says to me, what would your final meal be? And I said, well, the experience of somebody who is dying is that food is the last thing that they want. That because of the drugs that she was on for lung cancer, everything started tasting like sand. It got to the point where it didn't matter what I cooked. She would say, well, this doesn't really taste of anything, or the texture of it is awful. So she lost interest completely in food. But it didn't stop having to make meals all the time. So I got very inventive.
Tell me
more
about
inventive.
It. In what way?
Going through cookbooks, obviously yours, trying to find things that she would like.
So you were thinking of her. When you were cooking, it was not just a distraction for you to kind of do something, because cooking can be that way. You have to follow the recipe. You have to put, no matter how sad you feel, you do have to put the olive oil in the pan at a certain time. And it does create a rhythm. It comes a method. It comes in order almost, doesn't it?
It does. And it's also because she said to me when she was diagnosed, please make a promise to me, if you can possibly keep it, that we are together all the time, and that I die with you in our house. And I said, well, I can try and make that promise, but we just don't know what's down the line. And apart from 4 days when she had to go into the Royal Marsden because she got an infection, we managed to honour that. So to go back to your thing about cooking, it meant that however short the time was that I was in the kitchen, it meant that it gave me some respite from dealing with her pending imminent loss, and I suppose gave her time away from me as well. And sometimes she would fall asleep, and then that gave me time to go and cook. But having that routine and something to do was incredibly important. And in terms of what you said earlier, that you can't give advice about how to deal with loss or death. What I've found is when people have said to me, oh, you get over it in time, I really object to that, because I think that I've never wanted to get over it. It's a navigation around it on a daily basis. And that really is the way that I find that is the way that I've coped with it. That I don't have an anticipation that it's sort of a hump in the road that I'm going to get over, and the other side is going to be, I'm now free, because I don't feel like that.
I always thought the worst 2 words in the English language was move on.
So somebody said to me the other day, said, it's been 5 years, Richard, you've got to move on, and you've got to man up, and you've got to start dating other people.
Yeah, that tells you more about the other person than I suppose. And,
does.
I think if you can, I would say that because I kind of went through a death experience of my son, 6, maybe 10 years before Richard. So I kind of knew.
And you had no
quite a
preparation
lot.
for that.
That one was. I always say there are two types
Because he had a
of death.
seizure and
It was like a car crash.
he was here
So
one
they're the
day and then he
ones
was
that-
gone
yeah,
the next.
Yeah. So the ones like, Richard, my Richard,
Yeah.
and your Joan is kind of being eased into
Yeah.
that world and the knowledge and everything. And then there's the ones that you get a call and it's a car crash. But I think that, and each one, for me, I couldn't cook after Bo died, after the car, after I got the phone. I'd go in the kitchen and I'd start cooking and start to cry or whatever, And actually coming in here was, for me, it was like coming home. But with Richard, we ate all the time. We had meals around, in the bed. We had meals upstairs. We had, and he really loved to eat.
So his taste buds weren't affected by
not at all. No, he loved
how
to
wonderful.
eat. Yeah, but
You're
so
lucky.
but what about it? And what about cooking for your daughter? Where was Olivia at this time? Was
She came to stay with us for that entire time.
And did she eat?
She cooked sometimes, but I think she found it so overwhelming.
Yeah.
Dealing with what was coming. And I don't know whether you found this, but did you have a sense or get told when Richard's life was nearing its end?
Not really, not until, because he had brain damage. Richard had a fall.
Yeah.
And he fell on his head and he had a bleed. And then it was we were in Mexico. And that was also interesting because Mexico, to be away from my country, away from my friends, away from, although I was surrounded, I took 2 rooms in a hotel and I was never alone for 4 months. But I was suddenly in the Mexican world of eating at a different time, eating different foods, having no wine, but drinking tequila, and there was a whole thing. And the hospital that he was in was a beautiful place, and the food was part of the whole. It was really important that people would bring food, and he always ate. And he was a great eater, Richard. So it was something we shared to the very end. But I knew he was going to die. Probably we knew we were coming towards the end, probably about a month before, because he had a stroke.
Right.
But this was after 2 years. But I think it might have been a different kind of experience in terms of Joan. Or the last weeks, did she eat?
She didn't eat.
Did you?
In the last week of her life, she ate almost nothing. And we had a palliative carer who would come in twice a day for 10, 15 minutes. And she said to me 10 days before, she said, in her experience, when the person who is terminally ill stops really not wanting to eat, that is usually 3-4 days.
Oh, yeah.
Joan had said to Olivia and I 2 weeks before she died, she said, I know that it's the end is very near. And she said, please let me go. And I think that this is, I've now, in my reading and other people who shared their experience, said that it is a very common thing for people to say, let me go.
Let me go.
They want you to give them permission to not hold on anymore. Joan said, I'm so exhausted. I've had a good life. I want you to find a pocket full of happiness in each day and not be sad when I'm gone. She said, because all of us are going to die. She said, you too included.
Did you listen to her? Did you were able to?
Yeah, I have. It's been a great mantra by which to navigate grief ever since then. Yeah. I found really helpful.
Find that pocket of happiness.
Yeah. Consciously finding joy in things that you may have just taken for granted beforehand. And that's been a great gift that she's given me and our daughter.
Yeah. An open kitchen in the River Cafe means we as chefs are able to talk to our guests dining in the restaurant. And now we're bringing that same ethos to our podcast, a question and answer episode with me and our 2 executive chefs. Send a voice note with your question to questions@rivercafe.co.uk and you might just be our next great guest on Ruthie's Table 4. You were born
in Swaziland, which is now called Eswatini, which is the tiniest country in the southern hemisphere, Southeast Africa, below Zimbabwe, besides South Africa and Mozambique.
And why were you there?
My father was the director of education for the British government, so that's why we were there, and that's why I went to school there.
Yeah. And so that was amazing.
Yeah.
Tell me about your dad. How did he have that?
He was incredibly
He must have
charming,
been,
good man by day, and then a very violent, unrecognizable alcoholic by night, because after my mother cuckolded and left him for his best friend.
in Africa.
Yeah.
And
When I
did
was
you
10
go
years
with
old.
her, or did you?
No,
did she
I
take
stayed
you
with
with
my
her
father.
as an only child, or?
I had a younger brother, but I think my mother her argument was that she didn't want to take me away from everything that was familiar to me and living at home. She was not a very maternal person. I think she's one of those people that you might, if you're unkind, would call it narcissism. Shouldn't really have had children.
Did she marry very young?
I think in that time, that generation, she got married at 24, which was when people got married.
Yeah.
In Jane Austen, not that she was in Jane Austen time, but by the time you were 26, you were an old maid.
You're an old maid, exactly.
Exactly. When was your mother married to your father?
Yeah, probably the same.
When they were young.
Maybe even younger. And I was young. I was married when I was 20. Well, I met Richard when I was 19, and then was married, had my first kid at 24. So I started very, very young.
You started young.
Yeah, I was a baby.
Yeah.
But so did your mother move down the street, or did she move?
No,
in
she
the
moved to
same
another
town?
country.
Another country.
Another country,
Okay.
and then that man got transferred to Peru, and then she came back to Swaziland and was treated like she may as well have
a letter
had a
A
scarlet,
on her?
a
scarlet letter.
Yeah, adulteress. Yeah, and so people, it was that awful situation where I would meet, in the Saturday market where people were buying fruit and vegetables. I would be with my mother on her weekend visit twice a month, and people would speak to me who were her former friends and would literally blank her. It was tough. It felt very cruel.
Tough. So what was food like? Did you when you
food, my mother had no interest in cooking, so we had a cook who she taught to cook 7 meals. So I know every day of the week.
Did you say 7 meals? Oh,
7 meals.
7 as in 7 days.
Yeah, and they did not rotate and they did not alter.
So every Monday?
Tinned fish was on a Friday.
Okay, so on Friday. Tinned fish on a Friday.
Tinned fish on Friday because there's no fresh fish there. Beef on a Monday. Pork on a Tuesday. Chicken on a Wednesday.
Gosh,
lamb on a Thursday. Fish on a Friday.
Wow.
And then we'd have roast beef again on the Saturday and then a barbecue on Sunday. Unless we went to Mozambique, which we would then have peri-peri prawns.
Wow, what are those?
Prawns with peri-peri sauce on them.
What's peri-peri sauce?
Oh, it's the stuff that the Nando's chain have based all their fortune on.
Oh.
It's a very, very hot sauce. Rectal fire, basically.
What did you say?
Rectal fire.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You have to sit on an inner tube if you have no sensitivity, if you have no tolerance for spice, like I don't. You have to sit on an inner tube for about 3 days because it is brutal.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Before we leave the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, was the tinned fish cooked exactly the same way then?
Exactly the same.
Oh,
it was
so
tin tuna cooked with fresh tomatoes.
Was there a day you looked forward to more and one you dreaded?
No, because if you don't know anything else, then you're used to that.
Yeah.
And then my father remarried when I was 12, and my stepmother cooked spaghetti for the first time. I'd never seen spaghetti.
You'd never had a spaghetti until you were 12.
So in 1969, I had spaghetti, and I was absolutely appalled. I thought that it looked like white worms in a bowl, and how could you possibly eat that? I mean, that's how provincial and isolated we were.
So you grew up there, and when you came to London, back to London.
I came to London in 1982 when I was 25 years old to seek my fortune.
So you really grew up in Africa. Went to college there?
I went to college university in Cape Town, which is the nearest by 1,200 miles, that you could do a combined English degree as well as a theatre diploma, because my father said he wouldn't pay for me to just go to a drama school in England.
But you knew at what age that you wanted to be an actor?
Well, I made shoebox theatres with cutouts, and when I was 7, and then when I was 9, I made glove puppets, and then when I was 12, I got some marionettes. So, and then I had full-scale marionette theatre in my parents' garage, and did school plays in the school holidays for kids.
Did school encourage you to do act? Did they have school class?
To some extent, and there was an amateur theatre club in Swaziland, so I was a member of that. So it was, the line of when I look back on it, is very, very clear that I think it chooses you. But the notion of saying that you're going to be an actor where I grew up was, people said,
But also,
you're
if your
kidding.
father was head of education, you would have thought as an educationalist that he would have encouraged the education that the...
You would think, Ruthie,
Yeah.
but he said, you have a good brain and you have good school results. Why waste it on becoming an actor? Because 99% of them are unemployed, from what I've statistically read. And he said, I dread that you're going to spend your life destitute, wearing tights, makeup, and avoiding a buggery.
Did he enjoy the theatre though?
Yeah, he loved it. Whenever we came back to England, every 3 years, he would take me to every single show that was on. So I remember when I came when I was 7, and then, especially when I was 12 years old, I saw just a huge variety of things. I saw Oliver, the musical, in the theatre. I saw Ginger Rogers do Auntie Mame at Drury Lane.
Ginger Rogers?
Yeah.
Wow.
So
What year was that?
1969.
Did she dance? Wow.
Yeah, she did. Danced and sang.
Wow. An Auntie Mame. What is an encore like at the end of a performance?
I've only done one musical, My Fair Lady, the Sydney Opera and Chicago Opera. A musical, there's music for people to re-perform. You can do a sort of final verse of something.
Okay.
But in the theatre, you can't. All you can do is bow. You can't say, "Oh, well, I'll do
that.
I'll do To Be or Not to Be again."
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's an amazing
But that's
sensation.
what I really love is sometimes when at the end of a musical, then it's all over. And then they come, like in Guys and Dolls, they'll come out and do, Luck Be a Lady, or when you see a guy, or, My Fair Lady, you could come out. What's your favorite song from My Fair Lady? Did you play Henry? You obviously played Henry Higgins.
I played Henry Higgins, yeah.
What a great part to do.
Absolutely amazing role. What is my favorite song from that? I think...
I wonder if it's the same as mine. Go on.
What is yours?
I've grown accustomed to her face.
Yeah,
I agree. Is there a better song?
No.
Should we sing it? I've grown accustomed to her face, like breathing out and breathing in. I've grown accustomed to the tune. She's whispered night and noon. Her smiles, her frowns, her ups, her downs are second nature to me now. The beautiful song.
That should be the ending of this, not the beginning. Oh, I know.
I did. Richard sang it for my 70th birthday to me. I said, "That's all I want you to do is to sing me. I've grown accustomed to her face." I do think it's a beautiful, beautiful song.
This is amazing.
Was that the last theatre that you did?
Yeah, that's the last time I did theatre, and I did it in Chicago 10 years ago, and then I did it at the Sydney Opera 15 years ago.
We should bring it to London. I would love to see it again.
No. You can't do it now.
Because of misogyny.
Because of the misogyny.
Yeah. Tell me about that.
Melissa McCarthy's daughters came to see it in Chicago, and they were 10 and 13, and they were appalled by the misogyny of it. They said, "How can any woman put up with that?"
When you were performing it, did you feel a sense of
My
that?
steer on it was that Higgins is on the spectrum, and that he is... He doesn't mean to be as cruel as he is. He just he says there's no filter whatsoever, so it just comes out. You should be thrown out like a cabbage leaf or whatever. So, and he is so joy filled when Eliza gets all the words phonetically correct, that he embraces her.
Yeah,
and it's no accident to me that straight after that she sings "I Could Have Danced All Night."
Yeah.
And it is the way that I interpreted was that was as close as he could ever get to saying he's in love with somebody.
Interesting.
So it was very physical, and we grabbed each other. And
I think it's the first musical I ever saw. I think when I went to see it, I was saying the other day that my dad used to take me, because we lived in upstate New York, and every sort of big treat, maybe once every couple of months, he would take me down to New York in the car, and we'd have lunch, and then he'd take me to a musical, and then we would buy the record, and then we would take it home to the country, and there was nothing else to do except just listen to it all the time. So I know.
Ruthie, this is really generational that we share in this, because in the 60s, every musical that came out, my parents had the LP of it and played it incessantly. So our whole family knew the lyrics of every
song,
single
yeah.
musical that came out.
Yeah.
If you say that to people now,
Yeah.
they think it's insane.
But the other thing about the musicals, without naming any, is that they don't have those tunes so much anymore. They're not as kind of hummable, are they? That you come out and you can remember, on the street where you lived.
Oh, I think the people who watch Wicked would argue with us.
They would probably, yeah. But I find it slightly challenging. But it is. I haven't seen My Fair Lady ever, probably even since I was a kid, a long time ago.
So you saw it on Broadway?
Yeah. I
Do you
saw
remember
that
who
on
was in
Broadway.
it?
I think it was Julie Andrews and Rex Harrison. I think it was.
Wow.
But I was really young, I have to say. So I think, but it was my very first musical. And then I saw West Side Story.
Mm-hmm.
Saw My Fair Lady. I saw a really one that, and he used to come in here, Stop the World, I Want to Get Off by Leslie.
Tony Newley.
Yeah. And
Leslie Bricusse.
Yeah. And Leslie, and Evie, came here all the time. And I used to come up to him. I remember the first time I met him, he was with Michael Caine. And I said, I bet I'm the only person in this room that knows, say, My Mishki Mishkov or whatever those songs were. Or
What Kind of Fool Am I?
What Kind of Fool Am I?
Yeah.
And then he loved it. And he would sing it with me because you can see I love any chance to sing. And, but those, they kind of grow up with those, What was your first music? Do you know what your first one was?
The first one was The Sound of Music and then Mary Poppins. But I'd heard My Fair Lady before I saw those.
Yeah, I
saw the movie, and my parents had all the Rodgers and Hammerstein.
Did they?
Carousel,
Yeah.
King and I had all of those
South Pacific.
record collection.
Yeah.
So I knew all of those before I ever saw the movie.
Did you feel like, in food terms, in real terms, that you were always a foreigner in another country growing up?
No, because all the food that I had was English food. Where I grew up was English. And all the people that I grew up with were English. So
they were?
Yeah, so they weren't, all the expat community there were essentially mainly from England.
Together, yeah.
Or people that had been on the kind of colonial circuit, that if they'd lived in India and then come into Kenya, it was as it was then called, then Kenya, then to Rhodesia, which then became Zimbabwe. It was like this sort of the trail of the last countries becoming independent one by one from the British Empire. And the people who couldn't face coming back to live in England and got so enamored of a colonial life ended up in Swaziland. So,
what do you remember what the food of Swaziland, apart from the prawns, which you described, was there a kind of cultural
maize?
What did the people
maize,
eat there?
which is corn, and it was made into a kind of polenta type mixture.
Yeah.
And they'd have that with gravy and a small amount of meat. Yeah, that was the traditional food.
Yeah. And that were there vegetables or fruits or anything exotic that you were?
There were amazing subtropical fruit there. Lychees, or we call them lychees, mangoes, but it was all seasonal. You couldn't, that is what is so extraordinary about living in London, is that you can get all of this stuff all year round for the most part.
Yeah. But did you describe going to the market where your mother was snubbed?
Yeah.
Do you remember the market?
Oh, yeah.
Describe it to me. What was it like?
It was a big open-air market, and all the people running the market were Swazi women, and they had, piled up stalls of fresh fruit and vegetables, and you bartered, and every person arrived with a basket and bought their stuff. And there was one supermarket as well, but going to the market on a Saturday was an absolute ritual. My mother would buy these vegetables. She didn't cook them, of course, but she would buy all the produce. And it was also a very social thing that you got to meet everybody else. And then she stopped going when all these people snubbed her.
And what was the move like to Cape Town? Because then you were in university there, were you?
It was.
Did you have your own place?
It was 1976, and it was the year that black South African students rioted against being taught in Afrikaans. So you felt that it was the kind of crucible of revolution. And being 19 years old at that, I just thought, it's all going to happen now. The whole thing's going to change, because I'd been, Nelson Mandela's daughters, Zinzi and Zeni, were at school with me in Swaziland. I did school plays with them. So we really felt that that this was the moment that apartheid would end. And of course, it took another.
Did you know their
14
mother?
years.
Did you know Winnie? Was she there?
Never met her.
Yeah.
No, because they used to come to Swaziland by bus from South Africa and then go back by bus.
Then you were taking drama courses.
Yeah.
And you were, yeah. What was that like?
I found doing the academic part extremely tiresome because all I wanted to do was the practical theatre stuff.
Yeah.
So, but in order to appease my father to get a degree, because he said, without that, there's no guarantee that you could have a job at the other end.
Maybe he was right.
Yeah, maybe he was right. So,
well, partly right.
yeah, he hedged his bets, but I think he was...
What was the other degree? I can't remember what you said.
Oh, it was an English drama degree, and then I did a theatre diploma. So it was combined over 4 years. So, yeah, I loved doing it. I co-founded a multiracial theatre company in Cape Town for a year.
Was that a challenge for you? Was that...
Yeah, but what is so contradictory and anachronistic about the apartheid system was that you could, in the theatre, you could work with black actors and you could socialize together, but you couldn't live in the same place and you couldn't go to the same restaurants, which was really bizarre.
Really
so people could shag
this,
each other, and if people came to stay that I was at school with, neighbors in the apartment block that I was living in reported us and said there were black people staying in a white area. So I then had to go every 2 weeks to a police station to take my Swaziland and British passports and hand them over and make a declaration that I was not harboring any subversives or terrorists.
The theatre company did well and thrived.
Did really well. We were the right people at the right time. Did both.
Do you remember any of the plays you put on?
Oh, we did. The first play that we launched was a play about the communist revolution in 1947 by David Hare called Fan Shen, and he very graciously, because of the politics, all other British playwrights had embargoed their work being done in South Africa, and he allowed it because he thought that a play about social change was apt for that country. And they flew the censorship board from Pretoria, 1,200 miles away, to Cape Town to come and watch this. So this bunch of very grumpy looking men in suits sat watching us playing Chinese peasants.
And when you went to Cape Town, you were on your own and you didn't have that Monday, what was Monday beef? Or was Monday... What was Monday?
Monday beef.
Monday beef. I know the tin fish on Friday.
Yeah.
And Tuesday pork. Got that. What did you eat?
I moved in with 2 other students who could cook, and I used to barter with them. Say, I will do other things. I'll do the shopping as long as you do the cooking. So that's sort of how it worked. But when I came to England, I couldn't cook.
Right. How old were you then?
I was 25. I couldn't even boil an egg.
You'd never been in the kitchen.
And my first job in London was as a waiter at Tutton's Brasserie.
At Tutton's in Covent Garden?
Yeah, it's still there.
Oh, yeah, it's still there.
So I was there for 7 months and worked as a waiter. And I never got fired because I didn't drink, allergic to alcohol, and I didn't steal. Because the amount of stealing that went on was just extraordinary. People take sort of a wheel of cheese in a winter coat and say, oh, come on, mate, just get that out. Or take this bottle for me.
Yeah. What was it like? What did you learn from working in a restaurant?
Oh, just the entitlement of some guests was absolutely extraordinary. And if people were very rude, their service became even slower. And then you could always blame the kitchen and say, I'm terribly sorry, but, oh, your food is cold, or, oh, it isn't the full order, or whatever. There are ways of, as I'm sure you know more than anybody, of torturing people.
How long did you work there? 7 months. And was that the only restaurant job you had?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
restaurant job. And then I started getting work as an actor.
And tell me about those days. Did you have your own apartment?
I had a bedsit on Blenheim Crescent, number 89. You could put your hands out.
Did it have a kitchen?
Either side and touch both walls. Okay. It had a loo, a tiny cubicle for a shower, and a kitchenette beneath a bed that was up a ladder. So the width of the bed was the width of the kitchenette underneath. Yeah. Because it was parallel to Portobello Road. And at the end of the market day, because I didn't have much money, you could go and get
the leftover.
You get the throwaway and the leftovers very, very cheap or for free. So I lived on that.
And so acting and starting that. What year are we in now?
1983, I met the person who I then married.
You did. You met Joan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she was a brilliant cook, absolutely amazing cook, and rarely followed recipe books. But if she did, it was a kind of a sort of what do you call a blueprint? And then she would improvise on top of that.
So this became a cooking, eating relationship.
Yeah. And when we got married, she said, you have to cook every other night. I'll cook one night, you cook the other night. She said, you have to be an evolved late 20th century man. You have to cook as much as I do.
Yeah. And did you go for that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she also insisted that when we got married, because she'd been married before, that we cook for our own wedding party.
Oh.
So we had 100 people and we cooked the day before, well, for 2 days before.
Do you remember the things you cooked?
Everything was cold, but we cooked poached salmon and chicken and beef fillet. All of this stuff was done in advance. She had one rule that whatever party we had, especially a Christmas party, she said every guest has to know a minimum of 2 other people. Otherwise, you're not going to get harmony in a group of people. And I found that pretty foolproof, a safeguard for getting people together. Although it's always interesting to have people that don't know each other at all, but for that real buzz of an event, knowing people, some of the people knowing each other really helps, I think.
And so you had parties.
And she also thought that cooking for people, that people appreciated it more than if you got in a caterer or somebody to help you. Yeah. Joan used to make your chocolate nemesis every single Christmas party we had, and she'd make 2 of them. And I think the combination of that must be 36 eggs.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What about film and food and film and
Babette's Feast.
So talk about some of your own movies that you were.
That I had seen.
Well, tell me of.
The first film I was ever in with Nell and I, Richard Griffiths, who was playing Uncle Monty, my uncle, had arrived from Italy. He'd been filming there with Ian Charlson and had not done any. He hadn't learnt the lines terribly well, and Paul McGann and I had 10 days of rehearsal, so we knew the script back to front. And Richard kept fluffing his lines in this Cumbrian cottage where we were filming. And because my character had not supposedly eaten for 3 days, I had to eat very, very fast, a Sunday lunch of roast lamb and roast potatoes. And I think I got through 4 legs of lamb and I don't know how many kilos of potato. Eventually I had to have a vomit bucket next to me because I couldn't keep it down. So I've never eaten lamb willingly since then. Wow. But that was that was an extreme experience of eating on set.
Having food and set.
But Joan and I used to do a movie night once a month where if we did The Godfather, we had spaghetti. Yeah. We did Chinatown, we had Chinese food. We watched Cabaret, we had German food. Yeah. So we do food according to the thing.
We did a podcast with Francis Coppola.
I know.
Recently, and it was, he went into great detail about the food at the Godfathers, and the making the pasta sauce. But there was a movie called The Grand Bouffe. Did you ever see that? Oh, yeah. Which is about the men eating themselves to death. And that, again.
And I was in Coppola's Dracula with Gary Oldman 100 years ago, and we were all staying at the Napa Valley estate at his house for, a week of rehearsals because Sony wouldn't pay for them. And every night he would cook. There must have been 15, 16 people. And I asked him, whether he ever cooked just for his wife. And he said he didn't know how to cook for 2 people. He could only cook for 15 to 30 people.
We are going to talk about food because I would ask you, having watched them make crab linguini, would you like to read the recipe for crab linguini?
Yes.
Because I have it here.
Linguini with crab. Serve 10. 2 large live male crabs cooked. I don't know how you'd establish that they're male,
but I know,
that's the River Cave recipe. 3 fresh red chilies, seeded and finely chopped. Juice of 4 lemons. 3 cloves of garlic, peeled and ground to a paste. 250 mils of olive oil. 500 grams of linguini. Remove the claws and legs from the crabs, break the bodies open carefully, remove the brown meat from inside the shell, and transfer, along with any juices, to a large bowl. I get rid of most of the brown meat. Remove the white meat from the claws and legs and add to the brown meat in the bowl and mix together, a tiny amount. Add the chilies, the lemon juice, and the garlic to the crab mixture. You can never have enough of those. Season well, lots of Maldon salt, stir in the olive oil. The sauce should be quite liquid. Cook the linguini in a generous amount of boiling salted water, then drain thoroughly, stir into the crab sauce, but do not reheat. Serve immediately and stuff your face.
So watching it, we would just go, but just tell me that what you sort of saw differently in Ross doing it with you.
Well, Ross, I mean, he's so brilliantly fast at doing everything. And he put in dried chili and he put in fennel as well, which I'd never had, but I'd never used that. And it isn't specified in your on your recipe
changes. Yeah.
And he added a little bit of the liquid that the pasta was cooked in into the sauce, which gave it its creaminess. Made it whatever it does, all the magic of science. And it was absolutely delicious.
Yeah. So did you miss the coriander and did you miss...
No, because of the River Cafe version.
Yeah, there you go. And that's about cooking, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's compare a recipe to a script. So when you're memorizing your lines, tell me about the difference between a kind of script and a
With the
recipe.
exact same way, you have the recipe in front of you, but then something inspires you to add something, or you go off on a tangent, or you ask if the director or the writer are open to an adjunct to something, or an addition, or an improvisation around sections. So it means that it evolves. It's not, unless it's Shakespeare. You can't improve on a genius, really, I don't think. So, and because of the rhythm and the meter of it, it's, you would be doing a disservice, I think, if you tried to extemporize on it.
Do you remember cooking for Olivia as a baby? Was food important the way you fed her?
Yeah.
Does she cook?
She cooks fantastically.
Is she?
Yeah, she loves cooking.
Her mother's influence.
Yeah. So we still do cook together.
And she's working on your fragrance.
She does, yeah.
Tell us about the fragrance.
Oh, I've been obsessed with smelling everything all my life, and I don't understand why everybody doesn't.
Can you remember the smells of the markets?
Oh, yeah.
You can?
Yeah. And if you go into an old-fashioned greengrocer, there's one still in Twickenham that I go to every other week, where you can smell the soil and you can smell vegetables and fruit in a way that is completely non-existent in a supermarket. You have to go to French or Italian street markets to get that, as you know all too well. So I remember that smell very much. But I had a mad crush on the first American that I'd ever met in 1969, called Betsy Clapp, with a double P. And Armstrong had just landed on the moon that July, so everything American was so exotic.
What year was this?
1969.
So,
I'd never met an American. I'd seen them in the movies. So to have this gum-chewing, fast-talking, taught me how to French kiss, and I thought, well, I'd try and make her perfume for her birthday.
Cool.
Yeah. And, of course, I boiled up rose and gardenia petals into boiled sugar water. And, of course, it didn't turn into osmose itself into beautiful scent, just into a stink bomb. And then 40 years later, I was on holiday in the Caribbean, and a fellow houseguest, Annie Hindmarsh, said, I've never seen anybody so obsessed with smelling everything and scent as you are. Try and do one professionally. So that's what inspired me to do so.
Are there smells that you can't be in a room if you smell it? I mean, you can't be with cheese.
Yeah, when the cheese course comes out, I will. I'll just remove myself.
Do you?
Yeah, I think it's the most putrid,
all
disgusting.
Cheese. Is there any cheese?
Almost all cheese. Yeah. I can tolerate a Caesar salad because it is delicious, but that's about as far as I can go.
And so, if you have a pasta, you'll never have Parmesan on it.
No. Yeah. And I'll never eat a pizza with cheese.
And you'll never eat a pizza with cheese. Yeah.
Chocolate is another thing that I find that the smell of it is not so, it's a bit claggy, but the taste of it is absolutely repellent to me.
I think about smells and music. I can remember, the song. If I hear a song, I can remember, You know, what I was wearing and where I was when who I was with. Do you?
Scent is exactly
And
the same.
scent the same. I don't have that with scent. I have
Scent
to
is
get
the
better at
shortest
that.
synaptic leap in your brain to your memory. So you can smell something that you haven't smelled for 40 years, and
And
it will, like music,
take you
it will
right back.
instantly take you back to the place where you first smelt that.
Is there a smell that if you need comfort that you want to smell?
What is yours?
Tomato sauce. When my son died, and we were all ran back to the house, everybody was everywhere. And so all the other children and my husband, we got to the house, and I was going up the steps into our bedroom, and one of my kids came in, and I said, Abe, put tomato sauce on. I need to smell tomato sauce cooking. I just needed to have that smell in the house, that somehow there was a continuation or whatever it was. So I think that smell to me always is a sense of comfort. What is yours?
Christmas pudding, which I eat once a month.
You don't.
I do.
You don't. You don't wait up all year for Christmas pudding?
I can't wait that long. I'd eat one once a week, but I'd explode. And in January, every store and shop is literally throwing them like footballs at such a discount to get. So I got 27 waiting in my pantry at the moment.
So we have your smell, your favorite smell. What is your comfort food?
Baked beans.
Oh, is it? Tell me about that.
Oh, just baked beans because I've had them my entire life, and you just heat them up and put them on a piece of toast. What's yours?
Probably just if I feel a sense of stress or panic, I do want chocolate. I do find a piece of chocolate is that crave. I crave a piece of chocolate. But then again, for me, it would be tomato pasta. Yeah, that if I could have, even if it's cold the next morning, I can have, if I have that carb of the pasta with tomato sauce, I'm a happy person. Yeah.
Have you always said tomato sauce instead of tomato?
I go back and forth.
You do?
It just depends on where I am. But I'll say, you say tomato, I'll say tomato.
Okay.
But let's definitely not call the whole thing off. Okay? Thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the conversation, please click the subscribe button. There you will see more videos on my YouTube channel. We'll also be posting new content that you can only find here. See you soon.
Thank you for listening to Ruthie's Table 4 in partnership with Moncler.